Welcome to this week's episode of the program. This is the Gavel. I am Benny Ark. The nationwide strike backed by organized labor on Monday this week saw the parliamentary gates shut tight in pre-dawn hours of Tuesday, barring vehicles from entering as workers were forced to abandon duties as the drama unfolds. Let's take a look.
In the early hours of Tuesday morning, the National Assembly gates came under lock and key, halting vehicles from entry. Workers were compelled on day 2 of the strike to stay away as a mild drama ensued. However, senators were not deterred as the lawmakers, including Senator Abdul Ningi, who was recently recalled from suspension, arrived for the resumption of plenary. A substantial number of senators were already in the chamber, and expectedly, the industrial action by the organized labor came under focus as lawmakers advanced their contributions.
Let us see what we can do in persuading both labor and the federal government in looking at between 75 and 90,000 naira. Because if you go by 90,000 naira, it means in the last 5 years, which this law was made, it means if you divide 90,000 times, divide 200%, let's say it's 200%, 90,000, divided by 5 is 40. And the food inflation, the purchasing parity, and other things we have in the market is also about 32% to 33%. So Labour should be very happy, and every party should stop at that, because if they postpone for 1 week and nothing is doing, look at pulling down national grid. Mr. President, is not an easy job. That national grid might take another 3-4 days to come up, because shutting down a national grid, starting it up, is a problem.
I want to remind us that we have the rest of Nigerians who will be going to the same market, who may not enjoy any minimum wage. So as we deal with the minimum wage, Mr. President, we should also be thinking of those who have no employment at all.
As the news of the suspension filtered in, the President of the Senate halted further debate on the matter, expressing worry over underlying implications.
If we want to debate, we'll begin to question a lot of things. For instance, shutting down national grid could amount to economic sabotage. Stopping children from taking WAEC means that you have set those children back by 1 year. Stopping the hash is not only religious sacrilege, it's also unheard of. So there are so many things involved in what is going on. So my personal opinion would be that we thank them for agreeing to go back to the negotiation table. We urge the federal government to expedite action on negotiations in order to arrive at something that is acceptable, at least acceptable to both parties, or something that is reasonably acceptable to both parties. And then immediately thereafter, since the last minimum wage has expired, as an act of parliament, they should immediately send us an executive bill for us to commence work.
Meanwhile, plenary did not hold on Tuesday in the House of Representatives due to the labor strike. Staff of the Parliamentary Staff Association of Nigeria were on ground to enforce the industrial action, insisting that only lawmakers be allowed into the assembly complex. Inside the complex, members of the House were seen gathering in small groups before dispersing. Following the relaxation of the industrial action by the labor unions, the federal lawmakers reconvened in the Green Chamber on Wednesday. The Deputy Speaker presided as a matter of urgent public importance on the need to consider the imperativeness of fixing a living wage for Nigerian workers is presented.
Urge government to redirect the focus of negotiations from fixing a new minimum wage to fixing a realistic living wage for Nigerian workers.
Lawmakers were torn between condemning the extent of the strike action and the need for a living wage for Nigerian workers.
I will urge this House to please, with the speed with which we pass the national anthem, that we should also recall the Minimum Wage Act, reconsider it, and with that same speed, pass that act. Where the executive arm refuses to assent, I think that will be the first call on this House for us to override, Mr. President.
We actually have to criminalize the part where we shut down the national grid. Shutting down the national grid is killing the same people we are protecting. The primary job that we have is to protect lives and property. You cannot go under industrial action and kill people legally.
Section 31, subsection 6 of the Trade Union Act, as amended, prohibits workers and their unions from organizing or participating in strikes if they are engaged in the provision of essential services, power, water, or fuel.
The lawmakers then made suggestions on what a realistic living wage should be.
I'll suggest the price of one bag of rice is 75,000 today. Let it be the list of negotiating and now put into consideration school fees of individuals.
The law of Nigeria recognizes that as a person, you are entitled to one wife, 4 children, and then your mother and father. These are the things that you are entitled to take care, even in the tax relief or whatever. These are the indices and the factors given to us. And so by implication, you are supposed to have that minimum wage that will cater for this number of persons.
The ayes have it.
The motion was passed as the House also urged the government to further consider the downward review of electricity tariff to reduce the suffering of Nigerians.
During the past week, the complex issue of ranching was reintroduced in the upper chamber. In the main debate, Senator Titus Zam argued for replacing traditional open grazing with contemporary ranching practices. Here is how it went.
Within the week under review, the intricate subject of ranching was reintroduced in the upper chamber.
The menace.
In a lead debate, the sponsor of the bill, Senator Titus Zam, hinged his argument on the need to discard the old-fashioned open grazing and embrace ranching.
Now is the time to put a permanent stop to the endless cycle of attacks and counterattacks by our people and their external collaborators.
It also means that this is also the time for us to take another look at the law that makes land to be in the hands of states.
The National Livestock Production Scheme was introduced under the Vice President. Everything was packaged, but some states refused.
Then the argument intensified.
We cannot resolve this issue if we are sentimental. Going by this bill, it will compound our crisis in Nigeria. Some people close their eyes on what is going on or what lead herders to go against farmers.
Every citizen of Nigeria is entitled to move freely throughout Nigeria and to reside in any part thereof.
The section you are referring to is talking about citizens of Nigeria.
Yes.
And cows are not citizens of Nigeria.
Cows
can come in from Niger, they can come in from Chad, anywhere. But cows are not citizens. So let's go to the public hearing. And I think we should combine the public hearing also with the national dialogue that we had earlier approved.
The Senate within the week debated a bill for an act to amend the Free Universal Basic Education Act 2024, seeking to scale down the number of out-of-school children and increase the penalty for defaulting parents.
The sum of 2,000 as provided in the Act to be paid by defaulting parents in today's value of the Naira will not serve as a major deterrent. Hence, the inevitable need to increase the fine to 250,000.
So I think these amendments would align the intentions, the broad intendments of the UB Acts with the Child Rights Act as well. It will promote education. It will set the right trajectory for our progress in this direction.
The bill subsequently scaled second reading and was referred to the Committee on Basic and Secondary Education to report back in 2 weeks. During Thursday's plenary session, the challenge of illegal mining and insecurity dominated conversations, following a motion moved by Senator Sani Musa on the need to investigate the incident of a rockslide that buried alive 30 informal miners in Niger State.
The appropriate authorities should, as a matter of urgency and necessity, initiate thorough investigation into the circumstances surrounding the incident, so as to identify any existing lapses as they relate to safety regulations and enforcement in the sector.
The National Assembly should invoke the powers that is conferred on it by Section 4 of the 1999 Constitution as amended, make the necessary legislation to guide the sector rather than allowing it to the whims and caprices of various government officials, as the case may be.
The government is being shortchanged. It's been shortchanged. The government is not having what is due to it. Or the federal government to come out with strict safety measures and deploy adequate security apparatus to the mining communities in order to maintain vigilance around mining areas to prevent further incursions.
In a separate motion on the challenge of insecurity, some lawmakers canvassed for a state of emergency in regions that have become terror hotspots.
I think there is a need for all critical stakeholders, including the President himself, who will now call a meeting of all relevant persons, lock themselves in until they find solution to the insecurity problem in this country. They should not come out of the room.
The security agencies probably are not competent, or they are afraid, or there is complicity. And therefore, all we need to do is to match this with timelines. Give them what they want, but give them timelines to achieve it. Once people know that they are going to lose their positions, they will act.
Mr. President, we have to seek the support of the Parliament to declare emergency, state of emergency in those areas. Once that is done, that will give the military and the security personnel the comfort and confidence to go all out to engage.
The Senate had in January this year summoned the service chiefs over the alarming spate of insecurity across the country as it announced a meeting with President Bola Tinubu to canvass implementable solutions.
Thanks for staying with us. You're still watching The Gavel. I am Benny Ark. This week, the House reviewed a motion of critical public concern regarding the alleged illegal spending of the Frontier Exploration Fund by the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, the NNPCL. This is the report.
The ayes have it.
Within the week, the House considered a motion of urgent public importance on the Frontier Exploration Fund, which is allegedly being illegally spent by the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, the NNPCL.
The NNPC Limited has consistently assessed and expended funds from the Frontier Exploration Fund without prior appropriation and approval by the National Assembly as required by the Act. Mr. Speaker, he has further informed that hundreds of millions of dollars have been irregularly withdrawn from this fund and expended on white elephant projects.
The House mandated its relevant committees to investigate the matter and report back within 4 weeks. The House also considered a motion on the urgent need to investigate the death of a Nigerian in South Africa and other cases of unlawful killings and torture of Nigerians living in diaspora.
The House is concerned that the recent tragic and painful death of Mr. Ebuka Nwoko, a 43-year-old Nigerian allegedly murdered while in the custody of South African security officials, is yet another harrowing example of the severe mistreatment our compatriots face overseas. Saddened that Nigerian lives are continuously devalued and disregarded, even in nations that claim to uphold democratic values and the rule of law.
The weekly plenary of the House of Representatives wrapped up on Thursday, with the Deputy Speaker presiding once again. Several bills were lined up for first reading, one of which seeks to alter the Constitution for the creation of the state of Olu from Imo State. In the course of plenary, a matter of privilege was raised, which sparked tension, prompting the intervention of the Deputy Speaker.
Committee on Local Content, led by Honorable Buma, were on oversight function to Rivers State, and they paid a visit to greet the governor. Unfortunately, it was alleged in the publication, not established, but I rated that one of our colleagues have issued a press statement alleging that the delegation was in Rivers State Government House for solidarity visit with the governor.
My right is being impinged upon on the floor, right here. I need to defend it, not in committee. He should have made this complaint to a committee.
Which you are right, which of you are right? Are you the one that he referred
I
to?
I attended.
So wait
and I need to explain.
We have not asked you for any explanation. That is not how the parliament works. You cannot use privilege to debate privilege. If he has exercised his right, allow us to investigate. He might be right, he might be wrong.
Next, the attention of the House was drawn to alleged fraudulent land allocation in the FCT from May 29, 2023 to August, when the FCT minister assumed office.
The House therefore resolves to A. Investigate all allocations of land in the name of the Minister of the FCT Abuja given within the period of 29th May 2023 to the 21st August 2023 when the office was vacant. Secondly, that all such lands which are subject to litigation or multiple allocation should be identified and their allocations withdrawn by the minister.
The House resolved to extend the period of the investigation to run from January 2023 to August 2023. In the meantime, the House has passed the 98.5 billion supplementary budget of the FCT, which was stepped down in the Senate for lack of details.
Honorable Speaker, honorable colleagues, that this House do consider the report of Committee on Federal Capital Territory, the bill for an act to authorize the issue of the Federal Capital Territory Administration statutory revenue funds for the Federal Capital Territory Administration account, the sum of 98,500,000,000 only for the capital projects for the service of the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja, for the financial year ending 31st December 2024.
The House also passed two bills to establish the North Central Development Commission and the Southwest Development Commission. We spoke with Honorable Oluwole Oke, representing Obokun Oriade Federal Constituency in Osun State. He provided valuable insights into the progress achieved and his strategies for addressing the needs of his constituents.
My constituency is a constituency where people want to see what you have done in the areas of capacity building, human capital development. They are aware that I am not the local government chairman. I am not the governor of the state. I am not the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. They are aware of my mandate, that my mandate rests squarely on Section 4 of the Constitution to make laws, right? But because we are the closer people, or let me say, the group of that is more with the people, with the grassroots. Because for an average person in my village, in my constituency, to see the governor, it's a very tall order. Not to now talk of him saying, Mr. At best, maybe on television, right? But on weekend basis, bi-weekly, monthly, you have to be with them. So I'm very close to them. So, and I know their needs. So their mindset is human capital development. Okay, we have sent our children to school. They have graduated. Can you help them to get employment? If you can't help them to get employment, can you help them, to be empowered? Skills acquisition. And of course, helping them to get seed capital with which they can start doing something for themselves. This is the major focus of my constituents. Aside that, they also want infrastructure, even though when they know that that is not the basis of electing me, because those ones are purely executive function. It's only on a wise lawmaker that will be competing with his local government chairman, with his governor, or with the president in the areas of, infrastructure, capital projects. At best, the window we have here is the opportunity given to us through constituency projects. And what can we do in that area? You begin to look at key sectors, particularly where in our constitution, items that are on concurrent list. For example, health. Yes, the local government, the state government can contribute to that sector. But the federal government can also intervene. Education. Both the two other arms of government can contribute, then the federal government can also intervene. And that is why we're able to build primary health care centers, renovation of hospitals, renovation of schools, or building of new schools. So that's the window which we use to intervene in those sectors. We also look at agriculture, right? It's also on concurrent list. It's not an exclusive list. So when you now come to roads, unfortunately for me, not all my roads are classified as grade A roads. That is federal roads. Most of the roads in my constituency are B and C. They are roads that belong to state and local government. I've raised the motions here for federal government intervention in those roads. The letter I got from Federal Ministry of Works was that those roads are not federal roads. So that is where I have limitation in the. But those roads that are federal roads in my constituency, you can see federal government intervention. For example, if you look at the roads that from Akure to Ilesha, it passes through after Igbaraoke. The next place you get is Oweno. So that road passes through the length of my constituency up to Ilesha, Iloko Junction. So you can see those roads are in good condition because we're able to lobby and get the Federal Ministry of Works to work on them. Now, you have another road that's also a federal road. It is the road from Iwaraja that links us to Ekiti State. Efalaye. It's also a federal road. So over years, that road was abandoned. But I think sometimes in 2009 and 10, I got intervention and the federal government came and fixed the road. There's another federal road that passed through my constituency. That road is from Ilesha to Aramoko. So that road is also a federal road. So if you also check that road, you can see that often and none, you see federal government intervening in that. But I've also been able to lobby FEMA, lobby Federal Ministry of Works to also support me. For example, if you look at Etioni to Esauke, you see that the road has been fixed. Ordinarily, that road is a state road. But thank God we got federal government intervention. Now, in the current budget of 2024, there are internal roads in Ipetu-Ijesha that links to the road that goes to Ondo. So I've also been able to get some intervention in the budget, ditto in Ikeji, Arakeji, right? And then, of course, in Esauke too, I've also been able to get special intervention. Hopefully, in the 2024 budget, we'll be able to get government support to fix the roads. These roads are important because that is where the farmers can bring their farm produce to the cities.
That's it for this week's program. Your feedback is important, so email us at thegavel@channelstv.com. Thank you for watching. I'm Benny Ark. Stay safe and be well.